Greetings Exiles. The new league will start very soon, and that means it's time for a starter build for 3.21. This time I decided to start with Lightning Trap because this skill has very good mapping and a solid single target damage with minimal investment. Also, gear progression is very interesting, which allows us to scale our damage well. I chose this league starter a long time ago because I was sure GGG wouldn't nerf anything in this build. I assumed there might be some minor nerfs, but nothing big that would affect it much. But GGG surprised me, and in 3.21 they decided to rework Saboteur Ascendancy. Personally, I would not call it a rework. It's more nerf for all Saboteur trap builds because now Trickster and Assassin have more DPS. But I still decided to start as a Saboteur because it gives us a good quality of life, especially at the beginning of the game when our equipment is not so good. For me, the main criteria for a good starter build is being able to clear all non-Uber content with minimal equipment cost and being able to farm currency easily in the early stages of the game. And Lightning Trap Saboteur fits these criteria perfectly. We do not need any special or expensive items to get quick Atlas completion and our Void Stones. On the screen you can see a showcase of what this build can do. And for a comfortable T16 map clearing, we only need Tinkerskin, Divergent Lightning Trap, and rare items with resist, spell suppression, and some life. I even use a very bad weapon which I made with Shrieking Essence of Torment and then just crafted trap damage. With the new league mechanics, it should be possible to make something much better. As you can see for yourself, this build has no problems with T16 maps. As for single target damage, it is pretty decent, especially when you consider that I use 5 link and gear that you can easily get on day 2 because it's pretty cheap. If you are worried about the cost of Tinkerskin and Divergent Lightning Trap, you should not do this. Because they are not the most popular items, and their cost even at the beginning of the league will be very cheap. Especially since the Divergent Lightning Trap is only needed on red maps and to kill bosses. By that time you should be able to save up enough currency to buy this gem. As I said at the beginning of this video, I like this build for its gear progression, and now I would like to talk more about this aspect. After completing Axe, I recommend to start saving up currency for Tinkerskin. It allows us to easily generate frenzy charges, gives us phasing, and a good life and energy shield recovery that will allow us to comfortably complete our Atlas. Next, if you didn't make your weapon, then make it with Shrieking Essence of Torment, or if you have some extra currency, then buy Scepters with +1 to Lightning Skills gem. After that, try to buy Divergent Lightning Trap because it will make map clearing even more comfortable and will also give us more DPS when fighting bosses. These items should be enough to get you up to T14 map, and before you go to T16, I highly recommend you to buy clusters and upgrade your gear to get a 100% spell suppression chance. Clusters give us a nice DPS, and 100% spell suppression chance is a must for T16 maps if you don't want to die too often. After all these purchases, we can consider that we finished the initial stage of gathering items for this build, and now we can easily farm some currency, which we need for further improvements. When you get more currency, first of all buy a helmet with an enchantment. Lightning Trap pierces 3 additional targets. This allows us to free some skill points and spend them on something more useful. Also, your main priority should be 6 link because it increases our DPS significantly. Glorious Vanity and Slave Driver's Hand are our next targets. Timeless Jewel greatly increases our energy shield and thus improves our survivability. And the Slave Driver's Hand is one of our main items, which gives us trap throwing speed and allows us to get rid of a life tap gem, which gives us a nice damage boost. But be warned that these unique gloves will cost a lot, but trust me, they are worth it. After all these purchases, we are ready for the next stage, where we need to change our ascendancy. As I said at the beginning of this video, Saboteur is not a bad choice to start the league, but unfortunately after we upgraded our gear, Saboteur is no longer useful for us and it's time to move on. Specifically to change ascendancy to Assassin, because it will significantly increase our damage, and trust me, you will feel the difference right away. But before changing Ascendancy, you will need to buy Forbidden Jewels with Pyromaniac. Our traps cost life, and without Pyromaniac you simply can't use them effectively. And the final point is buying 2 Void Battery and Badge of the Brotherhood. With these items our damage goes up to 50 million, which will allow us to farm almost all the content in the game quickly and efficiently. Also, you may have noticed that in boss battles I use Ralakesh's Impatience Boots. I use them to get the maximum amount of charges at the very beginning of the boss fight and thus do a lot of damage from the very first seconds. It's not a mandatory item, but it allows to virtually increase our DPS because our first traps will deal more damage. At this point we can say that the build is complete and you don't need anything else. But if you like min-maxed builds, there are some additional purchases that will allow you to spend a few hundreds of divine orbs. First of all, you need to buy rings and a helmet with +1 maximum power charges. These items are really expensive, but they actually double our damage. Also, you will need double corrupted Tinkerskin because it is another way to increase our DPS. I tried to tell you briefly about gear progression, but this is quite a complex and complicated topic and I explained it in detail in my POB. If you want to know more information about items and my build, I highly recommend you to look there. There will be a lot of useful information. As for leveling for this character, Lightning Trap becomes available from level 12 and that's when we start using our main skill. Up to level 12 you can use Stormblast Mine or any other skill you like best. Our 3-link is Lightning Trap, Pierce, and Swift Assemble. When we have a 4-link we add Trap and Mine damage support. Lightning Trap is a very solid skill that is very comfortable for axe with and you should not have any issues with it. As an extra way to increase your damage on bosses you can use Lightning Spire Trap. I don't want to spend too much time on the leveling for this character, and if you want to know more about it check out my POB. You can find a link to it in the description to this video. I personally think that Lightning Trap is a nice and comfortable skill that has a lot of potential, as well as a pretty interesting gear progression that allows you to get a high DPS. And despite the fact that patch notes for 3.21 upset me a little bit, I'm still waiting for a new league to try this build in the Crucible. I hope you found my video useful and interesting, and maybe you'll start the league with Lightning Trap as I did. Also, I would be very grateful to you for likes, comments, and subscription to my channel. Bye everyone and good luck in the Crucible.